If you were to ask anyone who was familiar with the Florida Maquis channel what the most popular topic was, most would probably say Antarctica, maybe Venezuela. Some would say maybe even Ebola or the Fitzgerald investigation, but none of those would be the right answer. 4 of the top 5 videos on my channel have to do with a topic that the vast majority of you didn't know I even spoke about. It has to do with what would happen in this country if we were to ever experience an extended amount of time without power, as in a collapse of the grid, an EMP, some type of what they refer to as SHTF, stuff hits the fan event. Well, one of my allegations that caught a lot of grief was that we would see a great threat from prison breaks. And of course, there's this make-believe notion out there that there is some giant order to exterminate all of the prisoners that doesn't exist. And I made a map, the one that you see in front of you, saying where likely, if you had to choose where you should be during an event like that, the green would be the most popular, the orange would be a little less safe, but the red would be the most dangerous areas to be. And this goes against, of course, standard prepper YouTube religion that says anywhere out in the middle of nowhere is automatically the safest place to be. In that particular case, that's not true, simply because of the isolation factor. But the head of the prisons in Florida has warned of this coming event, and that was the overriding argument that I had against me, was that this wasn't going to happen. Well, this is out from the Miami Herald. The new head of Florida prisons sees dire warning signs that they cannot hold it together. Status quo is not sustainable, even if they have 24/7, 365 power grid, the food showing up, the maintenance showing up, the healthcare people showing up, the guards showing up. Even as it isn't sustainable. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And some people said it would take weeks for these people to get out. I'm talking days. Personally, because of the families. If the guards stop showing up, if the administrators stop showing up, and nobody's there to stop them, people will come get their loved ones out of prison. And I'll link this article down in the first pinned comment. And by the way, that's kind of the new thing with YouTube. Anything that links you away from YouTube or Google, you can't put in the description box anymore. That's why it's in the first pinned comment. I can put links to Google Earth Pro, because of course that's their product. They don't mind that. So if you see anything that's in the video that's not in the description, check the first pinned comment. Usually I'll go in there and have that set up before I even publish the video. So anyway, but I wanted to go a little further into the idea, sorry about that, of being prepared. I did a video a week or two ago talking about 7 or 8 things that you might not think you need that you really do. Now, in an event like this, I've made the allegation this is going to be the most likely survival scenario for the average North American. You're not going to be dropped on a South Pacific island. You're not going to be in the north of Canada in the winter, like all the TV shows envision. You're going to be stuck in traffic, and 2 hours will turn to 6 hours, 10 hours, and then all of a sudden you're in a decision-making process. But then something's going to happen that not a lot of people are prepared for. Now, it happens every day, but people don't realize, oh no, then what? The power is out and the sun is going down. And I might have to leave my car, which means I'm going to be out in the dark in the middle of nowhere. Now, night vision technology used to be expensive. It used to be prohibitive. It's not anymore. You can get a simple monocular, night vision monoc to put in your kit, that's 20, 30 bucks. And it could mean the difference between being separated from loved ones, or sometimes people don't realize, and a lot of people travel with their pets, what would happen if your pet freaked out and ran off and it was night? What would be your chances of finding them? You have an advantage like this, and it could be a very, very bad day if you would lose a pet in a situation like that. And just for an example, here is Amazon.com. This one even has a little mount for your smartphone. $33.98. Not something that will break the bank. Now, one of my viewers had also said, you didn't recommend a blanket. Well, that's actually a great idea. But I would go one step further. Instead of just an average blanket, or those little foil crinkly things that are designed to keep the heat in, yeah, I suppose they're better than nothing, but they make a ton of noise, they're easy to rip, and if you have the ability to plan and put something in your car, get these moving blankets that have the grommets in them. Now, hear me out on this. They act as a blanket, they're thicker than most blankets, and one thing that's going to be kind of a theme as we go through this video is going to be the use of zip ties. That's going to be something that you have in your kit no matter what, because of how many other parts of your kit they can accentuate. For example, let's say you had to make a shelter. You could use the zip ties and the grommeted moving blankets to hold this thing up over a branch or a tree or whatever. You could even, let's say you had somebody who got injured. If you could find a couple of sturdy, long branches, you could make a makeshift gurney by zip tying the edges of these to each one of those two poles to carry someone. And it's a simple thing to look for as opposed to just a normal blanket. And they're not expensive. One of the things that people forget is the bag itself. If you're going to put together a bug out bag, I found a wonderful resource. It's called bugoutbagbuilder.com. Just like it sounds, bugoutbagbuilder, bugoutbagbuilder.com. And this guy pretty much goes through this idea. Is like, I went out, I tried to survive, and carrying around your kit on your back the whole time doesn't work. Now, he's made himself a little single wheel deal here that you can roll around. It's not cheap, and I think at this point it would be very hard to carry this if you had to, but he has a rig that you can use this strapped over your back. So anyway, you can look at all the different products here. I don't get any consideration for this. I just found it by accident, and I just think it's a great idea. But the idea, I showed this bag before. This one has 3 wheels on it. If you were going to have a kit, you needed to walk, you needed to get out of Dodge, this would be ideal. And this next one I wanted to show, because it has the bigger, sturdier handle on it, you could run paracord across this as you extend it and carry even more. And some of these have really big, thick, heavy-duty wheels. Now, the first thing that I talked about in the last video was these muck boots. Why? Because when you get off the highway, and I'll go back here and show this, it goes, and I know a lot of you know this, it goes straight down, water drains straight down here, and there's a giant fence, but this is a swamp down here. You will absolutely, positively have to have a decent pair of these. And if you have zip ties, let's say you get someplace that's deeper than these boots, you can zip tie the top of the boots shut, and you can traverse without getting water all down in them. This is what I'm talking about with that swamp. This is what you might have to encounter. Now, the next thing you're going to encounter, I guarantee, and we've talked about this before, is this fence, but I've made a minor change to the snips. See if you can find a pair that has one of these little holes right here. Because what you can do is you can get one of these heavy-duty lanyards, and you can attach that tool to your kit or to your belt and have it so that you never drop it. If you're going to be down in these areas where there's a swampy, nasty garbage and you're trying to snip open a fence, it wouldn't be out of the realm of belief to possibility that you could drop them accidentally. And if you drop them down in one of those swamps and then you've got to reach your hand down in that mucky mess to try to find them, once again, you could zip tie your gloves if you had zip ties at the wrist, but why do that when you can just for a few bucks get one of these or a couple of these for different tools you might need? And just make sure that the tools have a little hole like this. Now, as far as the gloves go and protecting your hands, my personal preference, you can get these on Amazon. These are Kevlar sleeves. I wouldn't wear these by themselves. I mean, they're good. They will stop, a blade. But what you do is you get an extra large pair of these heavy-duty armored gloves to go over those so that you have that level of Kevlar. These are carbon fiber. These have the fingers that you can actually use a smartphone with. And you put one over the other. And between the two, nothing should be able to get through and damage your hands if you're having to cut through fences like this to traverse to get to where you need to be. Also, having the zip ties, once again, going back to that, you want to, if you can at all, once everybody's through, put the fence back to the very best of your ability so you don't leave a trail. And depending on the kind of fence, like for example chain link, you could probably zip tie it back to some extent so that nobody saw where you went. Here's just another placeholder pair of Kevlar lined armored gloves. Very important to have. Especially, and you are going to, if you leave on foot from a highway, it's going to be the first thing you encounter. You're probably going to encounter 3 or 4 between you and the next road. Now, I've also talked about this. This is the best standoff area of effect defensive weapon you can get your hands on. With ballistic weapons, they're heavy. They are, of course, have to be loaded. You need somebody who knows how to use them to operate them effectively. And you're aiming usually at one person at one time. This can create a cloud of absolute nightmare in front of you to keep people back. And once again, someone who's 8 can use this. Someone who's 80 can use this. And it's designed to stop one of these. It will definitely give you the ability to retreat from a bad situation. Now, I know a lot of people out there want to debate the use of ballistic weapons. They have their place. I'm not against them. But what if you were compromised? What if you had been hurt? What if there was an accident where you had a broken hand, a broken arm, or maybe glass had gotten in your eye? You couldn't make a sight picture. Having this would be a much better option than your ballistic weapon at that point. Going along with that, having a hat with a net attached to it. If you get off into these farm fields, and just like they showed in The Walking Dead, even if you want to go down that road, you're going to run into areas that are just swamps full of bugs. Depending on, of course, where you are in the time of year. I'm sure a lot of you right now, middle of winter, are not worried about this. This also can keep the sun off. And, in a pinch, once again, you can zip tie the bottom of this around different parts of your equipment to keep it effective, to keep it where you need it to be. It can also keep you from being directly identified. It's a great way to maintain anonymity. So, multiple uses. I said to carry water in as large of a container as you can get. I recommend this bottle because 1.5 liters, it's a heavy duty, thick bottle. When you're off and out in the middle of nowhere and you're traversing terrain that's not normal, if you have one of those thin, cheapy little plastic bottles, you could pop a hole in it feasibly. It could become something not useful. And once again, they also make a ton of crinkly noise when you try to pick them up and use them. Not Fiji bottles. You could put a flame to these and boil water in them pretty easy over and over and over again. And if you get to a place where you can find fresh, clean water, a nice, big, heavy-duty bottle like this will give you more of a chance of effective survival instead of the little ones. I missed this the last time, but you cannot have enough of this. If you're going to be walking 8, 10, 12, or more hours a day, unless you're an Army Ranger out there listening to me right now, or somebody who's used to it, you're going to get blisters, you're going to get hot spots, you're going to get all sorts of problems going on with your feet and even other parts of your body. And this stuff, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's sticky on one side and kind of soft on the other, and you can put it literally right over a blister, and it will take the pain away and allow you to move, allow you to be effective, and continue your mission, which is, of course, to get out of the survival situation and get home. Going along with that, having this in your kit, one of these foldable solar charger deals. You can be doing two things at once. Hang this over your pack. You can plug it into whatever device you have, and even if it's just your phone, that phone's going to represent maps. It's going to represent light. It's going to represent a morale boost for, let's say you have kids or somebody that needs some kind of distraction. A lot of those devices have compasses on them. They have all sorts of different offline tools. Maintaining them charged, once you leave the car, how are you going to do that? This can be doing that job for you while you're walking. It's just open it up, plug it in, and forget it. And the last thing, and this is something that a lot of people don't know about this, and I didn't know about it when I bought one of these. It's an arc lighter. Now, these are, for my money, the best fire starting tools out there. You can charge these up, and the charge lasts forever. I bought one, charged it up, and it was months and months before that thing needed charged again. But also, and I found this one out the hard way, these things are little mini stun guns. You hit the button on this and you jam it into somebody's wrist or neck, and it hurts a lot more than you would think. I know it seems like it's crazy. It's like, no way, that little lighter. Those little charged lighters are little tiny mini weapons. If nobody sees them coming, it hurts a lot more than you would think. And if you have daughters or loved ones that you want to have as a backup weapon, get them these for Christmas and show them this. They're not going to be real happy the first time they test it themselves because they're not going to believe it. But it's akin to sticking your finger in a wall outlet. No lie. And they don't take that much to charge up. And like I said, as far as a fire starting device, no better. Absolutely, you don't have to worry about a flame. These things will light up just about anything. So, before you're in a situation like this, plan for it. Night vision equipment is simple. It can save a pet, boots, zip ties, all the different things we talked about. These blankets with grommets. These are things that you don't really see talked about much on survival channels. Wheeled survival kits to deal with swamps, the boots. A lanyard, a heavy-duty lanyard for putting tools on your kit that you can then use and not have to worry about dropping or stashing back away in the kit and not knowing where they are. or having to dig through a kit. You can literally attach them to the outside of your kit and not worry about losing them. Kevlar liners, armored gloves. These are things you're going to have to deal with. Standoff weapons that from 8 to 80 can be used effectively. Something to keep the sun off and maintain anonymity, and can be used for a lot of different things. You know, this would almost act almost as a defensive weapon from bear spray to an extent. Not completely. Large, heavy-duty bottles for multiple uses, including water. I would have 10 of these, honestly, 10 of these packs in any bug-out bag, any kit. Because, like I said, if walking is 2 and 3 and 4 days, you're going to need to change these, and you might have other people that need them. And you're only as fast as the slowest person in your group. And if they're injured, if they're fighting with blisters, it could add days onto your journey. This simple, inexpensive ability to keep things charged, that'll do it while you're moving. And then this device to not only start fires, but in a pinch, act as a backup defensive weapon. And I'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.